Go ahead, Mr. Weldy. It's start recording.
Thank you, Peter. Welcome to the April 8th, 2021 special public meeting of the Lower Southampton Township Board of Supervisors. This is Ray Weldy, Chairman of the Board of Supervisors. To begin the meeting, will everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Thank you. Tonight's special township meeting has been duly advertised as such within 24 hours prior to the meeting in a newspaper and also on the township website and the Facebook page. Before tonight's special township meeting at 6:30 p.m., the Board of Supervisors and Solicitor and Township Manager met in an executive session to discuss personnel matters, namely the Parks and Recreation Director position. Before we begin, we'd like to announce that the Park and Recreation Director that we tentatively appointed 8 days ago, Glenann Chabala, has withdrawn her interest in the job, and that's why we're back tonight. So tonight we intend to name a Park and Recreation Director, and that's why the board met, and that's why we're having a special township meeting. Before we begin, the first thing on the agenda would be public comment. Mr. Gaudo, is there any public comment to be read into the record?
There is one public comment. It's from Steve Egan, 539 Newport Circle in Sweetwater Farms. Will the township summer camp at the Dolphin Swim Club be open for the summer? That was the only comment for tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. And I think that's our intention. If I don't want to speak for the entire board, but I think that's our intention. And that's why we've had these special township meetings the past 2 weeks, is to name a Park and Recreation Director that can hopefully hit the ground running and get everything up and running as soon as possible. So that is the board's intention. First item and the only item on the agenda would be the naming and the appointment of a Park and Recreation Director. I believe there's motions to be made, so I'll turn the floor over to the board so that we can conduct our business.
Mr. Weldy, I would like to throw a motion on the floor to hire Natalie Zappawello as our Parks and Recs Director.
Motion made by Mr. Kutsaratus. Is there a second to that motion? Hearing no second, that motion dies for the lack of a second. Thank you, Mr. Kutsaratus. Any other business?
I'd like to make a motion for Walter Mulholland to be hired.
And to authorize the township manager to contact Mr. Mulholland and negotiate a salary within the range that was in the publication for the job.
Thank you,
Okay,
Ed.
thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Motion made by Mr. Shannon. Is there a second to that motion?
Deb Kaplan, I'll second that motion.
Seconded by Ms. Kaplan. We'll do our alphabetic roll call vote. Ms. Cummings, your vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Kaplan?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Kutsaratus?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Shannon?
Yes.
Thank you. And Ray Weldy, I vote yes. The motion to appoint Walter Mulholland with the stipulations as added by Mr. Dillon has been approved with a vote of 5-0. So if Mr. Mulholland is listening or anyone else is listening, we'd like to welcome him aboard. And we'll have more news on that at our next public meeting next week. If there is no further business to be conducted, we would need a motion to adjourn.
Can I ask one question?
Absolutely, Ed.
Joe, when do you anticipate? I mean, is he giving us 2 weeks notice or is he immediately available? Do you know the answer to that by any chance?
I would assume he would have, since he's currently employed, I would assume he would have to give 2 weeks notice.
Okay, so I guess we may have to make a decision on the Dolphin Swim Club prior to him coming on board then. Is that a possibility?
That's a distinct possibility, sir. I'm
Okay.
actually going to be calling the pool contractor tomorrow, so
Okay.
from what I understand, the one part of the one pool component may not be applicable in this given year or viable for us, so it only may be the one part that may be working this given year.
Well, did they make some adjustments to their contract?
That was all negotiated previously when the former director was there and with the solicitor as well as the input of the board. But I will attempt to make a further revision so that the dollars match up with the level of service.
Yeah.
And
Well,
Joe,
I need some help with that. I was involved with the original contract that we had and some of the issues that we had at that time, so.
I appreciate that. I may reach out. I'll see how tomorrow morning goes with the individual.
Okay,
Okay, thank you, sir.
yep,
and I was going to add that, Joe, Ed brings up a good point. Maybe if when you speak to Mr. Mulholland, I'm sure he's aware of the urgency and the need for that position to be filled and the impending summer camp registrations and camp counselors and so forth. If he would be willing to, at least maybe by phone or something, have some type of interaction with the Park and Recreation staff prior to his beginning, its commencement, to get things rolling.
Sure, not a problem, sir.
Thank you.
thanks, Joe.
No problem, sir.
Any other comments from the board members on the appointment?
I have none.
Okay. Hearing none, then we need a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
I'll make that motion. Go ahead, Deb, sorry.
No, go ahead, Ed.
Motion made by Mr. Shannon. A second?
I'll second.
It's the fastest meeting of all time, so.
Kim beat you by a millisecond, so seconded by Mr. Kutsaratus. Ms. Cummings, your vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Kaplan?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Kutsaratus?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Shannon?
Yes,
Thank you. Ray Weldy, I vote yes. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you on April 14th at 7:30. Have a good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
okay,
Bye.
good evening, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good.